Hi, my name is Shivani, and today I'll be discussing my paper that focuses on the surge of domestic violence cases that we have seen during the COVID 19 pandemic. If we were to ask a victim for a subjective definition of domestic violence, their answers will likely be based off of their own lived experiences, their cultural beliefs, and values, and oftentimes these answers do not coincide with clinical or research based definitions. We might not have a universally accepted definition for domestic violence, but we know for a fact that it is a global problem, which is why millions of people around the world are victims today. Researchers have found that heteronormative and patriarchal societies are comparatively more accepting of domestic violence. This could be because of the internalized objectification of women or the victim blaming attitude. Now, there are a number of varying factors that affect domestic violence, some of them being educational disparity, relationship dissatisfaction, other societal and cultural factors. But one thing that remains consistent with every abusive relationship is that there is always a power imbalance. Abusers tend to believe that they are superior to their victims and are entitled to have control over their lives. Situations of natural disasters and crisis often aggravate these actions. When I say disaster, here I refer to any acute incident that disrupts normal behavior in a negative way. This could be a natural calamity or an economic crisis or anything of that sort. Distress caused by a lack of basic facilities, inefficiency in law enforcement, and feelings of helplessness are at its peak in these situations. Disasters exacerbate pre existing social inequalities, disproportionately victimizing women, especially in developing nations, as well as racial, gender, and ethnic minorities. COVID, like any other disaster, did the same. Isolating victims as an act of control or to hide the signs of abuse is a common theme in abusive relationships. The stay at home orders during COVID likely furthered the impact of these actions. Abusers are also known to surveil the actions of their victims, especially on social media and any form of communication in general. This likely restricted the victims from being able to reach out for help. Also, any institution that could previously provide for a safe space for victims had to be shut down because of the pandemic. If we take a look at some numbers, a lot of them suggest that the number of reported cases of domestic violence went up. However, it is important to recognize that most cases of domestic violence go unreported. This could be because of a number of reasons, but the most common ones being distrust in law enforcement agencies, as well as the fact that a lot of victims associate feelings of love, stability, and security with their abusers because they have been groomed into believing so. A lot of government and non government agencies have worked very hard to tackle this crisis. For example, pharmacies in Argentina that were recognized as safe spaces for people to report their abuse, as well as Australia and Canada that integrated funding for violence against women as part of their national plans to tackle the damaging results of COVID 19. In Nepal, Women for Human Rights, in collaboration with the government, set up a quarantine fully managed by women for women and vulnerable groups. Some of my major takeaways from this research were that cases of domestic violence should be given high priority because otherwise the lives of victims can easily be put in danger. Psychosocial support should be made available for victims of domestic violence, and the workers that provide these services should also be trained properly in order to be able to uh, deal with vulnerable victims properly. Organizations and communities that work for victims of domestic violence should be helped in any way, shape, or form that is possible, but especially in terms of funding. That is all I have for you today. If this is a topic of interest for you, then maybe take a look at my paper. Also, if you have any suggestions or any questions, then please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you so much for your time.